Well, hello everyone. Here, right here, I'm talking about for really quick right here. And a lot of times it sure seems that way that when we're talking about having a lot of work to do, and especially whenever it comes to being on what you call like that whenever you're going to be working on something especially, and like everybody else might even say too, that is toward it whenever you do got a lot of things going on, especially. Whenever it comes to reading a book or something like that, or maybe working on any sort of a drawing or something like that. But like everybody else might even say too, that most of the time, whenever it does come to jobs, right? Most of the time, whenever it does come to printing jobs and also business cards or something like that, that the first tool, the first thing that you would really think about is going to be which calls like to real quick, really quickly. And so I kept thinking as to where that how many of us would really think as to where that you're going to go ahead and use Distiller as for an example right here. Whenever you do distill a document right here, and 102 that what options do you really have whenever you do distill a document? Well, really that far as printing options, I'm like you have at least you have at least your 7 options here, maybe 8 of them altogether. But it sure seems that way that each time you're thinking about doing that, you'll create like a spread of a document right here that contains one image of an infographic for a Photoshop work, and then also if you're trying to include some discussions right here. And so I have right here, this right here is for Distiller right here, and I'll go and show everybody here that this right here, this PDF version right here, and so it's like so we see this right here, these 2 documents, and like I guess anybody who's going to be working for a printing company might even ask this question too, to where that do you really think that it's necessary to have a PDF file document, and let's just say that if you were to actually, I don't know if it's modification or anything like, or but when the way we think about it, though, is like 102 that what is the difference between this file, this file type, and also this one right here? And like everybody else would say, is to where if you look real closely at it, the first one includes 4 pages, but the second one is only just that 1 page. So like anybody who's going to be working any source of distilled document, you might have a lot going on to where that you might notice that there's going to be what's called this missing page, from the project. And let's just say that anything that you were working on from earlier, and let's just say if it takes about maybe 5 or 10 minutes just to be able to print one document, especially if we're talking about a real large enlarged printing or something like that. So like anybody who's going to be using Distiller may not realize that about the printing purposes, is to where well really what you really are trying to do is that you were trying to put all of this together to where that anybody who wanted to have a print made copy of something like this right here. But you see right here that this right here, this first page right here, that's going to include the writing right here, and also the signature along with the 12 hours right here. So anybody who's maybe going to have a lot going on for sure, they might say that they may run into this problem a lot of times whenever it comes to while you're working on something that if you do go back and add in a new document, or maybe if you do any further editing, that like everybody else says, is to where if you actually send that document to Distiller, that some of the information that you were working on from earlier, right? Some of that information that you were working on from earlier is visible to your audience. People can actually see it, but some of the other pieces are missing, and so it sure seems that way that every time you think about it, and that your 102 is toward it, I used to always think is toward it, that if that's really what's called a magical purpose about it, but still, each time you do think about that, and your 102, that there's a difference between what the audience can actually see right here, and compared to what you're actually working with right here on this, on this on this spread right here. So like, let's just say that everybody is not quite understood what you're working with right here. This right here on the left is actually my InDesign work, but then right here on the right that you see right here is what it would look like whenever it came to the final print, right, to where the people can actually see it, and then maybe that they can actually use it for when the purpose for what they need it for. And but I was talking about the gift wrap and all that for this document, but like everybody else might say that every time you do think about any sort of printing job that you're going to think is toward it, what's a good tool to use for printing that's known as for the quick work. So like, let's just say that if somebody were to say that something like, I would like to have this print, I would like to have this document print right here. I would like to have, this, for real quick right here. I would like to go ahead and have this document right here printed on this, for real quickly. And so every time you do think about any sort of job, though, that it's like, each time you do think about it, and you think about it is toward it really quickly, real quick. Do you think that so like any job that you're going to be thinking about, really, that people might say is toward that's whenever that they're going to go ahead and talk to somebody there at the customer service, knowing that if they're trying to print tickets, like let's just say if they're trying to print maybe Super Sabres passes or tickets or something like that, or maybe vouchers or something like that, do they have this option right here, and knowing that all that paperwork, and like everybody else will say too, that really that anybody with that super advanced knowledge, right? But people might say is toward if you really want the job for sure, that somebody's going to say is toward that would you be willing to print this document out? I need to have something done quickly. I need to have something done within 15 minutes. If you would be kind enough to give me a printed copy of this information for my reference. And so I know everybody else might say that you've used a Distiller for PDF file documents, but let's just say if you were to be using it for maybe for invoice documents or for receipts or stuff like that, from your recent purchase or something like that. But it's like I'm showing you right here that talk about for I'm like, for this one page right here, and like anybody might even say that if you're going to be using Acrobat for any reason at all, that the reason why you were using it was just so that way you can open up the documents, open up the PDF file documents. But if you were to actually distill a document for sure, that what menu do you think? I'm like, so you have these options right here, and it's like you ask the PDF file this and that. I'm like, so each time, so I can go, I'm like, delete log a file, but still, that see here, edit, and add. So if I were to add, so it brings up this menu right here for the images right here, and each time you do think about any sorts of document, then let's just say that right here, I can put this menu right here, so that way we can see this. But if I was going to be working on this document right here, and let's just say that with this document that it's going to show the wording right here with the infographic, and let's just say that somebody was going to say is to where that they want to have something done quickly. Like let's just say that they want to go ahead and can you go ahead and get this print ready? Or I'm like, so like let's just say that they need to have something copied, or refer to level 2 copy page. So you have these settings right here, and allow PostScript files to override Adobe PDF file settings. So let's just say that any professional might even ask as to where that if they want to have something changed quickly or done very quickly, for sure. But like, it sure seems that way. That yeah. First of all, you would maybe have to talk to somebody who has a better understanding about what it all means, right? So every time you do think about that, and at 102 is toward yeah, you go ahead and talk to the expert who knows and who can understand a lot of this stuff right here. And so you have right here, yeah, this menu right here, the standards and advanced features right here. And so you see, yeah, save portable job ticket aside, inside PDF file. And so yeah, you got these menus right here. And so you're thinking as toward it. So while you're going to be working on this, and you see this right here, that I got this PostScript document right here, but anybody might even say is toward it. Whenever you were first working on this, it only contained, there was only one page right here. But let's just say that anybody who's going to be looking at this document, maybe on another device, is going to maybe say is toward that. What's the best way of how to tell if there's a document that contains more than one page? So let's just say if it's 5 pages altogether, what's the best way that you can show them? Like, well, really, that one way that you can show them is by labeling that file, given that I guess you can go ahead and resave that file and give it a name, such as toward it, yeah, 5 pages or something like that. A lot of professionals might maybe even encourage that, to where that if you're going to be managing any PDF file or PostScript documents, that the first thing that you want to give the title is, yeah, that this document right here, but then also, 5 pages, or maybe if you did, multiple, like, yeah. So these two files right here look about the same, but like everybody else would say, is to where if you look real closely at them, this document right here is only one page right here. It's only one page, but then this one right here is 3 pages. If you see that here, that's 3 pages right there. So like everybody else might say, is to where if you got a lot going on, you can't really tell how many pages. Yeah, it would usually say right here, it's 3 pages. But then this one right here, it says it's only 1 page. So yeah, anybody who's going to be, who's going to know a lot about print purposes, especially, that they're going to want to know too, is to where if they, if somebody's going to want the job to be done quickly, or if they want something to be done now or quickly, that it's like, yeah, for sure, maybe you would pay attention closely at some of these settings right here. You would pay attention very closely at what is displayed right here, and also anything that needs to be, but still. But I just thought I'd go ahead and mention that, just because of the fact that, based on from my experience, it seems like that, yeah, that there's a lot of jobs out there. Yeah, a lot of jobs, but a lot of people would say that, if you're trying to print something, and let's just say if you're trying to print something really quickly, do you think that Distiller would be a good, like an Acrobat or Distiller? Let's just say if you just want one copy of just one page printed, you don't want to bother with altogether 15 or even 22 pages altogether. And I know, like everybody, you might say that if you're going to be working in an office area, that you don't really have the time to be looking over 50 or so pages, multiple pages, so that way you can look over all those pages and like, yeah. So you have right here for Distiller right here, but places might say that, yeah, I asked you to really quickly that could you go ahead and just give me a quick, simple answer about that, and could you also explain to me very quickly of what's displayed right here? What is all this information right here? And it's like, yeah. So every time, the first thing that anybody might even say too is that, yeah, do you think that maybe if you're missing something here, such as to where that you think that you've done everything here, but still, that when we think about Distiller, right? Think about Distiller as a tool to where that if you're going to be working on a program right here, and let's just say that if somebody's going to be looking at it, the first thing that they're going to say is toward it, yeah, can I have a printed copy of that? I need to have a printed copy of that just to keep for my reference, and so that way I can follow up about what all that was, how it was all put together, and so everybody might say that, yeah, anything that you may have missed from earlier, and so that's why it seems like that whenever you do think about that, and I want to know too that whenever it comes to special and whenever it comes to citizenship and all that, but I with the InDesign right there, but then also with the Acrobat right here. So this right here is just one page right here, but then if you go to this document, like, yeah, this right here, that's 3 pages altogether right there. And I know everybody else might even say that if you got a lot going on, and maybe if you don't pay real close attention to how the print purposes, how the printing tools and everything all work, then for sure that you might not realize or notice that there's going to be maybe 1 or 2 pages that either that are missing, or that there might be that there might have been something that went wrong with if it's maybe transparency, or maybe if it is something about for what that somebody asked to see, like, yeah, well, where's there are 2 other pages that are there are either not we didn't see them, or that there was something else that we would like to review here. And so every time I think about that, and I'm always thinking as toward it really that whenever you do think about a job, though, that somebody were to say is toward every time you think about getting something you're ready to print, right? You think about the quick and easy ready tools. And do you think that maybe that Distiller or Acrobat would be the good tool, would be perfect for that? Or like, there's going to be printing preferences like Word, and then there's also Excel that you can use the printing purposes. But I tell you one thing, though, that a lot of programs might even say that those printable versions of the file are not made ready yet, and so that's why it seems like that everybody might even say that whenever you're talking about whenever you're talking about putting together a document right here that includes an infographic and something like, like everybody else might say, that it all kind of starts over the fact that whenever you can see it, whenever you can see that document, whenever you can actually see and look really closely at that page, that printed document right there, and for sure that somebody's going to say is toward it, they would like to have a copy of that, or for any purpose at all, is that they would like to see. I'm like, there's that they didn't really look real closely at that, but they're wondering toward it. So I guess not everybody. So if you were to try to send this document to somebody by email, or maybe through a different system supported by what you call like through your printer, through the software that we're talking about, is that maybe anybody who's going to be looking over these documents are going to say is toward it they didn't see or realize, they feel like that there's something missing here, that they had to look real carefully, they had to look really closely and carefully at what they're looking for, and then also that anything from what's so it's like so each time I thought that we would like to see that, but a few documents which I can maybe give everybody here a few other examples too, but I'm just mainly using this right here as an example, mainly because that it was something I was working on from earlier, talking about special citizenship right here. But in case of anybody that may want to know too, that while you're working on something, that how do you think that you would correspond usually whenever if somebody really wanted something to be done quickly? Let's just say if they wanted a copy of something within about 15-20 minutes. Do you think programs like Acrobat and Distiller or maybe even PowerPoint would be those are the good tools to be able to use for that, right? But each time you do think about that, and you're always thinking as to that yeah, a lot of the jobs that you do at like maybe every day that there are some of them that some of these tools sometimes it only takes about maybe 10 or 15 minutes or so, or maybe even 5 minutes just to print out a document. And so you're always want to know too that if we're talking about like everybody else might even say is to where that Distiller, you may want to know too that Distiller may have been licensed to maybe to only handle one document at a time before multiple documents were compressed and all included. But like everybody else might even say, is every time you think about providing a printed scanned document, it seems like that the first thing that you think about is just one page that's easier to understand, but then also that one page to where that somebody can look real closely at that. And I know a lot of jobs might even say that if it happens too many times, you may have to include one design front cover, the front cover first, and then go ahead and go to the expert. And you're like, so it's like, so every time you do think about this, and you're always want to know too that would it help to go ahead and include a front cover, like I don't know, whichever that you want to call it, but really quick, the real quick note or something like that. You would include something like with an infographic right here displayed on the front. And I mean, I really don't know if that would be a real good idea or not, but if you have a lot going on, then maybe you would say is to where you want to go ahead and you would go ahead and do that. You would include a front cover right here, so that way somebody would recognize it, just to see what all that you were doing, what all that you put together. And then the second page would be about, as we're talking about, about the application status or something like that. So anybody might say that, yeah, I use, you might use Distiller for that reason. That you go ahead and include right here. Yeah, if you really want to explain something real quickly within about 5 or 10 minutes, and let's just say if it is over an application, or maybe if it is over a review, or maybe corrections that had to be made, that people, and then number one, they might say that, oh, okay, I'm sorry, yeah, I didn't see that, or I didn't realize that at first, and so that's why it seems like they're having Distiller and having Acrobat, you're having these programs to where you would be able to realize and understand just a little bit about what all that's going on here, because like everybody else might say that, oh, okay, well, I didn't see that, and like, oh, okay, I didn't know that, and so that's why it seems like that whenever you do think real quickly while you're working a job, and whenever you do things real quickly, it seems like it's all about testing your knowledge, right? That every time you do, a number of times that you tried doing this type of job, you keep asking as to what all have you really, what could have gone a little bit, what could have gone better, and also anything that could have gone a little bit more smoothly than compared to what we see. But on the other hand, too, it's like everybody else might say is to where that, whenever you do think about your disability, number one, do you really necessarily want to think about that as a lesson? Like you want to go ahead and teach somebody a lesson. Like, that lesson is maybe going to be about is to where to pay close attention, okay? Something like that. Please pay attention to what's needed here. And, so it's like, so you have these lessons here, and like everybody else might say that, if you want to go ahead and teach somebody a lesson, and so people might say is to word it, teach you a lesson just by is to word it, yeah. So it's like, so every time you think about it, and you're always thinking as to where that, yeah, whenever you first start working on something for sure, that you're going to think about that is to real quickly, okay? I don't have time to look at all this other stuff. I just want something simple and something fast to work with, okay? What does all this mean right here? And, is it possible that I'm like, yeah, so a number of times it's happened to me, and I can tell everybody here, the fact of the matter is that whenever it comes to printing jobs, especially, whenever it comes to print work, though, that a number of times it's happened to me, it sure seems that way, is toward, yeah, that, you can get a job done. You can get it done within less than a half an hour, within about 5 minutes, right? You can go ahead and get a document printed, but why don't you really want to include maybe the front cover of, you include like a front cover of a page. It don't really have to be real large, but include like a front cover explaining that if you were to actually be sending this to a client, if you were to actually be sending this to a colleague or a customer, you go ahead and and let's just say that they may only have to worry about one page, but then they go ahead and click on right here, maybe these 3 other pages right here that's going to explain, okay, where they can actually see it and they can actually read it right here. That these are the corrections that were made, and this right here is your certificate. This column right here is the part right there where it talks about having to reprogram the password. The things. So I know a lot. I mean, I really don't know if everybody would recommend using Distiller for that, but like everybody else might say, is to where that if you were to go ahead and show somebody the walkthrough to where you go ahead and look at this page by page in 102 that from how it was all put together. But whenever you first start using Acrobat Reader or maybe Office edition of the PDF files or WordPress, that you might think as to where that you didn't look at those other pages right there, and people might say is, why didn't you look at those? You were supposed to look at that, so that way you can be able to read it, and so that way you would be able to look at that and study about what all that was needed. And so it's like, so every time you do think about that in 102, really, what is so special about that? But at the same time, like everybody else say too, if you bring up this menu right here and 102, that all these other features right here, but 102, really, not everybody is really going to pay attention to all these other advanced features, and even if they did, like everybody say that I really don't even use them too much at a time, but it's like every time you do think about it, it's like that there's more that you can do with the program than compared to what you usually use it for, but still. But what we need to think about here too is knowing that if somebody were to attach a file, and how is it that you're able to learn about something, and how is it that you're able to learn about that this is how this works and all that. But like everybody else would even say too, that whenever you first start learning that, though, that you actually were working on it, so it's like so every time you do think about the job, the first thing that you think about is to where that I want this job done now. I don't want to spend no 3 hours or 4 hours working on this stuff here. I would like to have something done quick. I want something quick and easier for me to understand. So it's like so I would think, like everybody else would say, if you want something easier to understand for sure, then maybe you would say you'll go ahead and use Distiller to where you can open up the PDF file document and look over, look at a lot of media right here, because everybody else might say that when we do think about InDesign, though, you don't really see all those tools and all those layers and everything all put together just to be able to build onto layers onto the documents, right? You don't, you're not even looking at all that media from the way that it was all put together right here, just to be able to produce this media, just be able to produce this information onto a PDF file document, or to any file document. And you don't really see all those tools right here. So So when we do think about that right here, and you're warned toward it, yeah, you don't see all those tools right there. So whenever you don't see them for sure, you're not even going to pay attention to that too much of the time. What you really are going to pay attention to mainly is that, yeah, the infographic right here. So like everybody else would say that, yeah, the infographic, like, and yeah, the infographic. And so if you were to actually, if I were to look at this right here, yeah, the first thing that you do see right here is, right here is, the infographic. You'll pay attention to that for sure. But like everybody else would say, that if you were to actually send that to Acrobat or to a printing software program and actually trying to print it out for sure. But like everybody say that, yeah, jobs really quickly. Can you go ahead and print off a copy of this and yeah, to word it yeah. So you see right here a few of these other tools that I'm sure have access to, but still that but like everybody else might say that, yeah, a lot of things that you do understand about what we see right here, but still, but if you were to actually show somebody an example of a printing press ready document of this information right here, and it may say that, yeah, not everybody's really going to know what all that means right there until, like, yeah, until they look real closely at it. You look real closely at it right there, and for sure that, yeah, for sure, you'll realize, okay, yeah, I see that. And so to me though, it's like each time you think about distilling a document, that the things that you don't realize for yeah, this document, until you open up that document or until you realize what's in those files for sure, that like maybe not everybody's going to realize that. So that's why it seems like the best solution for that would be is to word it, yeah, that would it be best to go and include a front cover page right here, to where people are like, well, that right there looks like a painting right there. But if it's a logo design or any source of cover, any source of letter explaining about, this right here contains 15 pages. Please look very carefully. Please look closely at this, because, this right here, like everybody else may say, that the first time you went to Distiller, that you probably you were maybe expecting to only see maybe 1 or 2 pages, right? You were not expecting to see 25 pages or even 50 pages. And so if you're going to be reading a book or something like that, but like everybody else might say, that please pay close attention to the tools, because whenever you do go to these programs, for sure, they might say that whenever you first start working on this, whenever you first start working on this project, that the first thing that you were thinking about is that you really wanted something done quick and fast. You don't want to spend a whole lot of time working on it, and so that's why it seems like that like everybody else might say, that do you think that it would be best for your clients to see some examples of what you put together? Like, you have some examples, and people might say that, yeah, it would help out a lot if you would present those examples to your clients and show them some examples of some of your work, so that way they can realize that whenever they do open up a document like this right here, they're not able to recognize some of this stuff. And even if they did, and like 102, that yeah, I'm sorry, but I don't recognize it, and I don't know what it's for. But you tell them that, I'm like, yeah, so anything that you're working on, that the first thing that you're going to think is toward, okay, yeah, that page right there, there's one file that contains 1 page, and the other 2 contain 4 pages. You got the front and back cover right there. And so that's why it seems like everybody else might say, that why does that seem to be a lot harder to understand for a lot of other, like everybody else? But I guess, like everybody say, if you got a lot going on, for sure, but maybe not everybody's really gonna understand. But like everybody say, that whenever you're going to be working on something, for sure, that whenever you're going to be working on something, for sure, it seems like, do you really want to say that to word it? Yeah, not everybody's really going to understand what all that you were working on, and so the best way of how to explain about anything that you were working on for sure. That not everybody's really going to understand what is it that you were working on unless that they were actually there watching you work, unless that they were actually there to, like everybody say that they actually watched you work. They would actually watch you work and see what all that you put together. And so I include this right here, this welcome right here. We saw from my other video that talking about the welcome page, but it's like, but I thought that I would include Distiller just because that for Distiller that because with Distiller that you have these PDF printing options here, and want to know too that the printing options, and so you have these other tools right here, but like everybody else might say that whenever you first start working on this, for sure that you were not you were not planning on printing anything. What you were doing is you were displaying it. You were actually sharing this information with the person that you were working with. So it's like, first of all, every time you do think about a job, that the first thing that you mention to them is to where that are you really are you authorized to have access to that data? Are you authorized to use this document? And so for sure that so even though if it does open up, and like everybody else might say that whenever you can actually look at that document, but it's like every time you do think about that, and people want to know too, is that that there's a lot of jobs out there they're going to say is to where if this is going to be fast and easy, and if it's going to be quick and easy. And you want to know too, do you think that you would need to include on a resume title to where that this won't take long here, or like, well, come on, we're not, if you're trying to fill out an application, or if you're trying to order something online, for sure, ordering something online usually only takes about 5 or 10 minutes just to be able to do just to be able to complete the order, right? We're not talking about shopping online. What we're actually talking about is that printing documents, and this information right here that we see right here was actually created using InDesign, but then if you were to actually send it to a program like Distiller or Acrobat that we're talking about, is that information right there, it's converted using these filters that that's provided to you through a PDF file document. So like, let's just say that if it does take about an hour just to be able to get everything all ready and recognized, but like everybody else might say that you don't want to spend an hour working on something and knowing that your client was telling you that I'm sorry, I didn't know that there was 30 pages altogether in that document. And they'll probably say is to where that not everybody has time to look at all those pages. And so it's like every time you do think about that, and you want to know too, is to where that, the first thing that you might say is to where, I'm sorry, I got a disability, or so they might say something like, I had a lot going on that day, or something like that. But I guess you really have to explain the whole story about why you missed something, or you might, I'm like, so it's like every time you do think about that, and you're always thinking as toward it, really, but still. So every time you do think about something quick and easy, though, that what's the best, what's the key factor? Remember is to remember about that is to where to go ahead and include an infographic, like something kind of like this right here, to where please include something that your client can recognize, something that they recall seeing before. And so if they see that, and so like everybody else might say that do you think that you would maybe recommend that, and do you think they would work as to where that to make something go a lot fast and easier, that include a front cover right here, include a front cover on there, and like maybe somewhere on the bottom, to say something like, this document right here is 25 pages long. 25 pages, it says 3 pages long right up here, but, like everybody else might say that, whenever you first open up a document, for sure, like this one right here, this is only one page. And so the first time you may have used Acrobat, the first time you may use Distiller, that you may have thought as to where I'm only going to take time to look at one page, and I only need one page. But you may need 5 copies. You might need 5 copies, and you may have to look at that. You may have to edit more features on that document, and so that's why it seems like you tell like anybody might say that please pay close attention to this because when we talk about PDF file documents here, if most of us know what those are documents that are viewable on the website, on not just on the internet, but provided to you electronically. They're provided to you electronically. Please pay close attention to those because there could be a document that's going to contain more than one pages. And maybe like everybody else might say that you can have you could probably have maybe 100 pages altogether all attached onto those documents, but it sure seems that way that every time you do think about that whenever you first introduced to it, you were really only expecting just to get one page right here, but like everybody else might say that you got two tabs right here, but still, like everybody say that it's really it can be really hard, I guess, to verify how many pages there is total, and like everybody might say that, especially if you're going to be looking at the Distiller right here, if I'm like, if you open and I'm like, I like that, and like that, there's information on there about how many pages it is. So they might even say that if you were to actually send this to a client, that they're maybe not all, I'm like, they're not able to tell how many pages, and it shows right here, for use these settings to create Adobe PDF file documents that can be checked, and it must conform to the PDF for ISO standard. So you have these different selections right here, and so really so every time you think about Distiller and an Acrobat, that the first thing that you think about is to where that you really only want to take time to look at 1 or 2 pages. You don't want to look at 5 pages or even 50 pages altogether. And it's like everybody says, to where that the first time that you used Acrobat, or the first time you used a Distiller, is to where because you wanted to look at something that was fast and easy. You don't want to you're not going to pay attention to all that other stuff. And so it's like, I want something. I want this now, or something real quick and easy, and so that's why it seems like that, like everybody else would even say, is toward that whenever you do first start working on something, it sure seems that way. That are you really going to tell your client to pay close attention to this? All right. I ask you to look at this very carefully, and like everybody else might say, that maybe a number of times it's happened. If you really want a copy of something real quickly, for sure, you would include the front page right here. Maybe something that shows an infographic about, hey, this is me right here, and this is what I had to present. And then the second page right here is going to be about the things that you talked about. All distilled onto a document, right? And maybe that's another reason why that people say that Distiller really comes handy, besides the transparency, is to where you're able to explain to your clients about the things that you talked about during that meeting. And but it's all kind of it's a walkthrough of step-by-step process. It's just like reading through a book. That you're looking at this document right here, and that you're able to see and view all the work that you put together right here. And so it's like every time you do look at that, and you're wondering to where that 12 pages seems to be too much time, and I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time looking at that. But like everybody else might even say, is to where that if you don't spend at least an hour looking at that document, for sure, what guarantee that is the job going to get done if you don't spend at least an hour working on it? And like everybody else might say that if it's going to be any document, working for a printing business, that if you spend at least an hour working on it and studying just to understand a little bit about what's going on and just to test it, like everybody say, just to test it for really quickly, just to test it, just to make sure that everything is all working properly. And like everybody else might say that, yeah, why don't you spend at least an hour working on it instead of, like, yeah, you spend an hour but you don't realize that, okay, yeah, that there's more than one page right there. It contains, 50 pages, and, no, I don't have time to look at all that. And, but like everybody else might say that, really, a lot of the clients at the customer service might, yeah, a lot of stuff that maybe not everybody's going to really understand, and they might even say that, really, want one copy of my receipt. I just really want one copy of the concert tickets. I don't want all this other stuff. And so, like everybody else might say that, with a lot of this software right here, that your ability for what you can do with PDF file documents, and it's like everybody else might say, is to where that, yeah, why don't you take the time to learn, some of these tools? At least to take at least an hour, have a, maybe every other weekend or so, to take at least an hour to study about how it all works, because like everybody else might say, is to where that one of these days you might need it. And that's why it seems like that every time you think about that and you're worried to where that, yeah, you got the idea just by working on a painting, but still, it's like, somebody really asked, and I would like to have a copy of that, or I'd like to see how you arrived, at that, and or something like that. They would like to watch you work, for any reason at all. They want to see what you're working on, and they're going to say that, I don't know anything about this. Can you explain to me about that? And so every time you do think about that, and you're warned to where that, yeah, maybe not everybody's really going to understand it all, but when we think about really quick right here, it's like, yeah, so like everybody else might say, is to where that, why is it that every time you do think about that, that you're thinking about, is to where that, yeah, really quickly, can you explain about what all that you put together right here? But anyway, but talk about for really quickly, talk about for jobs, right? But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.